South Africa now has a single regulatory authority, and that's to oversee environmental assessments in the country. The Environmental Assessments Practitioners Association of South Africa has been appointed as this regulator, and they'll perform this role for a 5-year period, we're told. The association has also been recognized through an award in Canada for working to finalize this process. But how feasible is it really to centralize environmental assessments in this country? Let's speak to the Vice President of this association, Dr. Desmond Musetsho, who joins us via our video link this morning. Doc, it's great to have you on the program. Thank you so much indeed for making time. I mean, we need a whole lot more context to understand this better, don't we? As a start, how were environmental assessments taking place in the past before a regulator was appointed?
Okay, thank you very much, Ayanda, for having me. It's really a privilege for us. I would say that environmental assessments were conducted previously, even before a regulator was in place. It was sporadic arrangements for practitioners to be involved in such activities. But over the years, there has been calls for us to come together, arrange ourselves, and create a body that would be in the same mold as your Engineering Council of South Africa or the Health Practitioners Association or Council that deals with doctors and stuff like that. It has not been there, but now we are at a stage where the body has been established and recognized by the Minister of Environmental Affairs, and it also a statutory body that has been recognized by the South African Qualifications Authority.
Are all players in the sector in agreement, at least insofar as the process itself has unfolded?
I would think yes, because there has been a lot of support and the calls have been coming from all angles, from society, starting off with the public in general, practitioners themselves, regulatory authorities, and even at an international level, because there has been calls throughout the world for something like this to be established. So I would think yes.
Then why is it that we're told of, there being deep concern among civil society groups who suggest that, part of this process flies in the face of, what the Constitution allows? They say it violates fundamental constitutional rights for things like public participation. Where are those concerns coming from?
The environmental assessment practitioners and the actual establishment of this body is actually, in a way, strengthening the concern that you are raising now, because where environmental assessment practitioners are not regulated, it is very difficult to rein them in and also to follow up on certain procedures that they have to abide by when they conduct environmental assessment processes. So I would not think that it goes against the Constitution. It actually reinforces what is in the Constitution in terms of balancing between social, economic, and environmental aspects whenever there are certain developments that have to be undertaken.
Yeah, we know that regulatory authorities or regulatory bodies typically deal with appeals as well. Is that the kind of work the association would be involved in? And if so, what does that process entail?
Okay. There's a bit of a difference between the appeal process that you might be referring to and what we do. We do have an appeal process, but I will explain it in this way. Environmental Assessment Practitioners Association of South Africa, it's a body, it's a professional body that has been established to register and regulate environmental assessment practitioners. Whenever there is a transgression in terms of our code of conduct by these environmental assessment practitioners, they can be hauled into a disciplinary committee, and if any outcome of such a disciplinary committee is not in favor or they are not happy with the outcomes, they can appeal. But I think the appeal that you were referring to is where an environmental assessment has been done and the outcomes have been authorized or approved by a regulatory or body or competent authority like the Department of Environmental Affairs. Then there are appeals from certain quarters of the public to say we are not happy with the outcomes and stuff like that. I'm sure that is the appeal that you're talking about. We are at this stage not dealing with those appeals, although our practitioners do get involved in such activities. What we do is we register and we regulate the conduct of the environmental assessment practitioners. These are the professionals that get involved in the actual undertaking of the environmental impact assessment.
All right. Okay, there are several moving parts. I wanted to take a step back first. The EPAs, the Environmental Association practitioners themselves, help us understand what happens when there's an appeal against their assessments. Who deals with that? Because I'm sure they can't deal with an appeal against their own work, if you know what I mean.
Okay. Even before we get to the appeal processes, environmental assessment practitioners do not take decisions when an environmental impact assessment is conducted.
Right.
They conduct an assessment. Their report gets to be submitted to competent authorities, competent officials of the Department of Environmental Affairs, if it has to go there, or the Department of Mineral Resources if it is related to mining activities. They recommend certain approvals or certain activities in terms of their reports. The decisions are taken by competent officials that have been empowered in terms of the National Environmental Management Act to take such decisions. So appeals would be taken against the decision of the competent officials. I'm not sure if you understand that.
All right, yeah, there's certainly a bit more clarity. It's obviously new, and that's why I'm asking a lot of clarity or guiding questions, because I imagine these are some of the questions people in the industry itself might have. Given the newness of what the regulatory authority is finding itself in, where do you begin? What's your first port of call in streamlining processes that weren't streamlined before?
Okay. The first line of call would be for everybody that is out in the sector that participates in the work that we do to get registered with this professional body. It is a professional body that has been recognized, like I said, by both the South African Qualifications Authority and the National Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment in terms of Section 24H of the National Environmental Management Act. So the first point, let us all get registered. There are people who are already registered as we speak now, but we need everybody who is practicing to register with this body so that they can be held accountable for the activities that they undertake. You would understand or agree with me if anybody were to go out and be left alone and to do anything that they would want to do around these processes of environmental impact assessment, there would be no order in terms of what they do. So the first thing, let us all register, let us all abide by the code of conduct that is there, and then all other things will unfold from there.
All right, certainly an important development. We'll keep monitoring the development itself and all the reaction to it. For now, let me thank you for your time. Desmond Musetsho, who is the Vice President of the Environmental Assessments Practitioners Association of South Africa. Essentially, they are the newly appointed regulator overseeing environmental assessments in this country. And the reason why that matters is because environmental assessments pave the way for things like development in the country, any kind of building of new structures. If, for instance, a company wants to mine in a certain community, an environmental assessment needs to be made before that. And we've seen in the past where residents or communities have pushed back against that kind of development in their own areas. And it's in that context that this story becomes important. And we'll keep watching it for you.